Okay, so when we're conducting a hypothesis test, you've got an HO and an HA, a null hypothesis, but you're really trying to find evidence for your hunch, your alternative hypothesis, the thing the researchers are trying to show. So what you do is you go and you calculate a test statistic, and then see if it's bigger than a critical value, which you usually get from like a table in the back of the book, or you can use calculators. Okay, it comes from a formula for whatever distribution we're working on, and you see if the test statistic surpasses the critical value. If it does, that means you get some evidence and you reject HO in favor of HA. But this question says, what is the test statistic? So there's a lot of information they've given you, but they just want you to do one little part of this hypothesis test. They just want you to calculate the test statistic. And the test statistic for one mean, when the population standard deviation unknown is t, and what you do is you take your sample mean and subtract it by what's hypothesized to be the population mean, then divide it by the standard deviation, which has to be s, not sigma, because we're using the sample standard deviation, and then divide it by the square root of n. Okay, this comes from the distribution of x bar of the mean. So you really just have to plug some numbers in here. The survey says 3 hours per week is the average amount of television. But a researcher does a different test. They go collect a sample. The sample mean is 2.5. So I'm going to plug 2.5 in here and compare it to that previously hypothesized population mean of 3 hours of TV. Okay, so make sure your sample mean goes in for x bar, or else you'll get the wrong sign. And then we got 26 New Yorkers, standard deviation of 1.1 hours. So I'm doing 1.1 divided by the square root of 26. And so when you compute this, you've got your test statistic. And that's really all you have to do. You don't have to do any of the other crazy stuff with hypothesis testing. So I've done this a lot. You might want to do it step by step carefully. But I just know that it's quickest if you figure out the bottom part of the fraction first. Square root of 26 is 5.09. I'm copying that to my clipboard, and then I'm going to take that standard deviation of 1.1 and divide it by that square root. And now I'm going to figure out the top part of my fraction. And again, I'm copying this to my clipboard. 2.5 subtracted by 3, divide by that big number that we just got. I got negative 2.3177, and we're supposed to round to 2 decimal places, so negative 2.32.